Okay, if you see any opportunity whatsoever today for any kind of humor or levity, jump on it.
First of all, you picked this topic that is going to depress both of us. Luke is probably going to go out back and start lighting up cigarettes and drinking. I mean, how am I supposed to joke about this while this is going on?
I don't mean joke about this, but I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, you want me to find a joke somewhere in there?
No, I don't know.
You look, I'm going to say
any moment for levity. Let's say
there is no moment for levity in this conversation. Like, how are we supposed to do this?
I know.
You're the one that picked it.
I know. I'm just saying.
Let's just go ahead and start it and be
depressed.
Yes.
Oh, God. Okay. Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of From Art to Atoms.
I'm Brandon.
The Ultimate Curiosity Show. Dumbass.
Oh. Yeah, I'm Brandon. I'm supposed to say that part too. Brandon messed up here. The Ultimate Curiosity
Show. I love
Show.
how you looked at me like I was an absolute buffoon.
I mean,
like, and? Okay, well, let's try that again. Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of From Art to Atoms,
the Ultimate Curiosity Show.
I'm Brandon Shoemaker.
And I'm Mike Volz.
And now that we've got our ducks in a row, or as much of a row as they're ever going to be.
And my ducks are in the pond swimming somewhere.
They're about to swim off, I think.
Yep.
How's your week been?
It's been good. I mean, nothing compared to yours. I'll tell you that. But, you know, Shrek, we're less than 2 weeks away, a week and a half away from opening night.
A week and a half? Ooh.
Yeah, we open up not this Thursday, but next Thursday. So, yeah, about that time. So
wow.
We would close 2 weeks from today.
Yeah.
I'll be done with it 2 weeks from today at this time right now because we go on at 4 o'clock or at 2. So we'll be definitely done.
So by the time this episode airs,
I will be a free man. Peter will fly again. But no, it's been a good week. Rehearsals have been very, very going there. We're finally back we're on the stage finally. So, we have a new performing arts center in my district on campus, and they just installed the curtains and everything. All of that went up this week.
Yeah.
So we were finally, I think Wednesday was our first day on stage, or Tuesday was our first day actually on stage without curtains. Mm-hmm. Because then curtains came on Wednesday. But we're finally able to start getting everything kind of situated now that we are on stage, and we can get like official blocking done. Because we've done some kind of like
loose blocking.
Yeah, like in a room, it's really hard to say, exactly where everyone's going to be. But like you enter left, enter right, exit kind of thing. You know, and kind of general idea. Well, this is where I want you. But now we're finally so. And again, with like a week and a half left, we have really a lot of crunch time too. And then, I won't be there Wednesday and Thursday and Friday.
Yeah.
Because of the concert we're going to in Austin. But
what concert is that?
I don't know how to say her last name. I'm going to mess up her last name. Kylie Minogue.
You said it right.
Did I say it?
Yeah.
So Thomas is one. I mean, this is his Celine Dion.
Yeah.
And so
he's Michael is obsessed with Celine Dion, and Thomas is obsessed with,
as Marsha would say, his Salon Dijon.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so we're gone because I guess this is her first time touring in North America in years. I don't know when the last time she toured in North America. And so tickets were on sale like in September. And so we grabbed him for his birthday. So we've been kind of looking forward to this. Sorry. He's been looking forward to the concert for about maybe 8 months now. Mm-hmm. I'm just looking forward to getting out of town. But that was before Shrek was even on the radar. Yeah. And so now I kind of want to be here because I feel like I'm going to be gone for 2 full rehearsals, I guess, Act 1 and Act 2. And I'll miss, I guess, the first part of another one of Act 1. I just feel like it's like when you're a teacher and you come back from a long break after being out for 3 or 4 days, you just feel kind of disconnected from it. Yeah. And so I'm worried that I'm going to be running and connected to it 4 days before we go on. Right. So I guess I've been practicing my dances and my songs. And I guess I'll be doing that in Austin on the way there and back. Yep. So I got to get the songs down. But we were supposed to get costumes tomorrow. I think they're delivered tomorrow.
That's awesome.
And so we
costumes are another one of those moments where it starts to feel like, okay, everything's coming
yeah,
together.
yeah. And I talked to Sierra, the assistant director and the music director. Like a lot of the kids haven't felt part of their character, but once they get that costume on, it's going to be a lot easier. They won't feel so silly,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
But I was thinking about that today. So I need to ask you, do you have any blue hair dye?
Actually, I do.
Because, Peter, I need to see if Peter's getting a blue wig. Because on Broadway, he's got a blue wig.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know if that's coming part of it, but if not, and even if it is.
What are you going to dye?
My beard.
Oh, okay.
Because if it's blue hair, I want the beard to look.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want the coverage to match the drapes.
That's not. Nope. That's not. You want. You just want the shag to match the swag. Wait, no,
that sounds even worse.
That did. That sound okay.
That sounds even worse.
Let's just move on.
Anyway,
really, you just want to look like Captain Planet. Face it.
Without the green skin. No, he's got green hair.
Oh yeah, and
blue skin.
What isn't his new beard blue? No, it's green too,
green.
isn't it? Okay, never mind.
Yeah, it's green. So, but I want this to match because the beard is part of the joke in Chuck, and so I want that to kind of match. And I also thought about like props, like, so we have a Tinkerbell, so I can't put like a lantern, and keep tinkering like a lantern or whatever. So I thought about getting like a plush crocodile.
No, you're trying too much.
No, well, I mean,
what are you? How are you going to dance with this thing in your hand? Like,
no, only in the part where we come on stage to break up the wedding.
Okay,
but I am going to do that a lot because Peter does that.
Okay,
is it stupid?
No.
I've been trying to think of stuff Peter would do.
The crocodile is stupid, but no. Yeah. Gestures.
Can I bring out a hook?
No. He doesn't have a hook.
I know.
So then why would you have a hook?
Because it's my token from destroying or defeating Captain Hook.
No.
But I am going to do the beard, I think.
If they give you a blue wig.
Even if they don't.
Ask your director first.
I will.
Okay.
But he's going to say, yeah, have fun with it. That's what he's going to say. Because he's told us on stage he wants us to be super, super like big.
Yeah.
And as playful and as funny that we can be. Like he wants us to put as much into our characters as we can and want to.
Yeah.
And so he's given a lot of freedom there for that.
Good.
So anyway, that's this week. How was your week?
My week was great.
I was on spring break all week.
I was. Yeah. I did a lot of reading. I did a lot of relaxing. I only went to school one day.
Yeah.
So I was very happy about that.
You went to Shreveport?
Yeah.
You took a small little trip to Shreveport.
Yep, that was nice. Yeah. It's been fun. And then tomorrow back to the grind.
You'll be okay.
Yeah, I will. I love what I do every day. So it's not really like work.
What do y'all have left over? Like you have the award show coming up?
Mm-hmm. That's it.
Oh, that's it?
Mm-hmm. We were going to do 2 student directs, but all the student directors said, I'm done. Because they were all in UIL. And so we were like, okay, not a problem. Because that just means, hey, that's fewer rehearsals that Kinsey and I have to stay after school for.
Yeah. So that's good.
So none of this is what we're actually going to be talking about today. Oh, we also need to talk about, this is our next to last episode for the season.
Yes.
Next week's episode will be the season finale. So we are winding down, gearing up so that we can enjoy our summer. But we'll be working on the podcast all summer too.
Yeah.
Anyway, so. But yeah, so today's topic is actually a little bit of a downer.
I want to go on record that this was not my choice of topic.
Yes, this was definitely my passion topic that I wanted to talk about. And it's something that I mentioned a few weeks ago when we did book club, and that's the Dozier School for Boys. If you recall that episode, if not, go back and listen to it. It was great. But if you recall on that episode, I mentioned how I had read a book from Tananarive Due called The Reformatory. Even though it was a supernatural horror novel, it was actually based on real events at the Dozier School for Boys in Marianna, Florida, in the Florida Panhandle. And so when I found that out, of course, I wanted to find out everything I could about what the actual historical events were. And the Dozier School for Boys was an actual reformatory for boys that was opened in 1900. and it stayed open for over a century. It didn't close until 2011.
Yeah, I was gonna say 111 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Which is so weird to me.
right.
Because especially after all the turmoil that we're going to talk about in this,
yeah.
that they would have left it open that long.
Well, it went unreported and, as they said, unsubstantiated for so many years. There were allegations and stuff like that, but they couldn't find the proof to back it up.
Well,
But so what he's talking about is the fact that, as is frequently the reputation of
reform schools.
Yeah, there was blatant abuse.
Not even blatant. I mean, there was murder.
Well, yeah, which again is, unsubstantiated. They still don't have the proof of that. But what ultimately, the proverbial stuff that hit the fan that led to actual investigations by the state was that they discovered all of these unmarked graves. And there were some that had been marked, but they weren't marked very accurately. And so they decided, well, we need to, get some anthropologists to actually figure out what is going on here. So the University of Southern Florida came and started using ground penetrating radar and discovered that there were a total of 55 bodies buried, which was 24 more than what was actually on record of what should be there.
You said penetrated.
Oh, God. That's not what I meant when I said
that's why I laughed. I'm like, what are they over there doing at the beach?
God, at the beach?
Yeah, it's in Florida.
Oh.
Do you want to go back and just start from the very beginning?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, it opened, like we said, in 1900, originally as a home for orphans.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's about maybe 40 miles northeast of Panama City in the Panhandle.
Panama City's in
Florida?
In the Panhandle, though? I didn't realize.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's in the town Mariana, Florida. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I didn't know where Panama City was.
Yeah.
Okay. One of my geographic deficits, clearly. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So close to the Georgia line, or
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Is it Georgia or Alabama?
It's right there. Like they're split.
Okay. So close to the state line. So we're talking about juvenile, quote unquote, delinquents, but the infractions that sent them to the Dozier school ranged from legitimate crimes like car theft, but to things like running away from home
or smoking
in school. Yeah. Like, so it's kind of infuriating when you read about the stuff that happened at the school and you realize that, okay, we're talking about like our students that just do stupid stuff in school and they get sent there.
But who sent them there?
The courts.
Okay. So you run away from home, you get picked up. Do you have to go to court for that?
At that time, apparently.
Okay.
Well, I guess you do. Yeah, I guess you would even today, but it would.
I mean,
I don't know.
If you just run away, if you get found, your parents take you back in or something. Like,
I don't know.
Why is the court involved in that?
I don't know. I guess. I guess it could be for a number of reasons. Like they probably have to, check and make sure that there's no abuse happening in the home and stuff like that. Maybe.
So if there's abuse in the home, if there isn't, we're going to send you to this place where you're really going to get abused.
Well. Exactly. Yeah. The other thing that's kind of infuriating when you think about it is that, they weren't sent there for a specific sentence, like for a specific duration of time. It was meant to be a reform school. And so it was essentially up to the school how long you stayed there, when you were sufficiently
reformed.
Yeah. So, automatically right there, you're looking at something that is less, I guess we can't say constitutional because it clearly, or I say clearly, it apparently isn't some sort of violation or something, but, it's not like you as an adult go out and rob a convenience store and you're sentenced to X number of years. They were sent here with an undetermined amount of time for them to work through their program or what have you. And, so they had, it's a big sprawling campus that was segregated.
1,400 acres.
Yeah. It was segregated, through desegregation, federal desegregation. And so you had the white side on one side of the road and the black side on the other side. And obviously, the white side wasn't exactly, treated like, fairly, but the black side was much more severe. They were given much more menial laboring tasks to do compared to the white side and things like that. But, you have a number of grown men, old men, who have come forward in the past 15, 20 years or so to talk about what happened to them. And they call themselves the White House Boys. The reason for that is because there was one building on the campus that was referred to as the White House. And that was a small white building where the boys were sent for receiving corporal punishment.
Mm-hmm.
And when we say corporal punishment, we're not talking about, a paddling like they used to do in public schools. They were beaten. They were tied to a bed and beaten with a leather strap, which is really no different than whipping. So,
I mean, it is different because they're not whipping you 134 times with this strap.
No, they're just beating you 134 times with it. Oh, and the strap had metal grommets or something in it. So you also had the metal that was causing damage. So it's not like, daddy takes off his belt and smacks you a couple of times across the behind with it.
Can't do that nowadays.
Well, yeah, but you can, but. And so, these atrocities are going on, but I think it's just a matter of when you're a child, the world doesn't take you as seriously.
Mm-hmm. Especially back then.
Yeah. And so even though, they would try to report these things, some of them were investigated, but anytime they were investigated, magically there was no evidence to be found.
Mm-hmm.
And things like that. The truly scary part is the bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Now part of it is literally just poor record keeping, because even the bodies that they had on record, they didn't have the exact burial places for.
Mm-hmm.
They eventually, somebody from the school eventually started putting up white crosses where the graves were supposed to be, or not even supposed to be, just guesses as to where they were.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they started using the ground penetrating radar, they discovered, no, they're not even, in the right spots. So, you're talking about a true carelessness on the part of the people who worked at the Dozier School for these children that were supposed to be under their care.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention the fact that, who were these 24 bodies? What happened to them? Because they were able to determine some of the causes of death, and some were from influenza epidemics in the early 1900s.
Mm-hmm.
Some, a group of them were from a fire that had happened on the campus, and there was a number of boys that were trapped inside one of the buildings.
That reminds me of an episode of The Ghost Whisperer.
Okay.
Just saying.
In every generation,
there is a whisperer. But that happened in one of the episodes. Like, there was a home for boys, an orphanage for boys, and some of the boys got caught inside, and she had to help all the boys out.
Oh, wow. When was that show on?
I don't know. That's a Thomas question.
Well, I asked because I wonder if it could have been inspired by this same event, because
I don't think so, but
okay. Well, because they, it closed in 2011, so I mean, it could have been, but it has been the basis for several different fictional works. One that I already mentioned, of course, The Reformatory. Another novel by Colson Whitehead, Nickel Boys, which was later turned into a movie that was this year nominated for a Best Picture Oscar. So it's definitely been something that has captivated the public's attention since all this came to light.
Mm-hmm.
And it really is something that I think one of the reasons is that, it kind of, tugs at the public heartstrings, so to speak, because, we assume that, if we're sending children to juvie, so to speak, we assume that they're going to be taken care of, that they're going to be actually monitored and looked after and things like that. And that's
I
really not what happens.
Yeah, I don't agree with that statement, though.
What?
I think the public perception of places like that is exactly what happened there for that reason.
Well, yeah.
I don't think that when we send kids off to places like that we feel like they're going to be treated fairly. And that could be because of movies. It could be because of media, but I don't get the sensation. Like, my feeling on those places is not that the kids are going to be treated fairly.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because, public perception of those places is exactly
what
for that reason.
Yeah.
Because in the 60s and the 50s, 60s and 70s, that's how those places were run.
Mm-hmm.
You look at Nurse Ratched or anything like any kind of mental hospital or any kind of orphanage and stuff like that. When my mom tells me that my uncles were sent over to a reform, they were and this was a Catholic reform school, not a school, but facility, Hope Haven in New Orleans.
Called what?
Hope Haven. That my grandmother, because they were and my grandmother was a single mom because my grandfather had died when my mom was 9. So the boys were teenagers.
Yeah.
And my grandmother was stuck raising the boys on her own.
Right.
She just couldn't handle the twins. And so she sent them to there. And, when I think of places like that, it just reminds me of like those places that, the nuns are over there. They're just the priests are abusing boys and the nuns are slapping people and beating people. And,
yeah,
I just have that feeling of it. And I don't know why.
And I wasn't speaking for myself either when I made that statement, because here's my sort of personal connection to reform schools. When I was a little kid, my dad, and this was when I was like 5, 6, 7 years old. My dad used to threaten me that if I didn't behave, that he and my mom would send me to what was called Jackson Training School.
Well, how bad were you as a kid?
I was just talking back and stuff like that. But he never meant it.
I know, but to even mention that to a kid.
Well, that was his
empty threat.
Yeah. But I didn't know it was empty, and I was terrified of being separated from my parents when I was little. And so he knew that was like, a surefire thing to what he thought would be, to get me to behave correctly. Unbeknownst to me, you didn't just get sent to Jackson Training School by your parents. It was, a reformatory. The court sent you there for much the same reasons why, people were sent to the Dozier School. But it was a reform school just like this that was just miles from where we lived in Concord when I was little. And it's actually still open and operational. I don't think it's called, it was Stonewall Jackson Training School. I don't think it's actually called that anymore, but it's just run by the county now.
Okay, so I just looked up Hope Haven.
Yeah.
And there's this is from the CBS affiliate, so a news station, not an actual like just someone out there.
Yeah.
And this was in 2018. This was done. The headline: Hope Haven was house of horrors for troubled youth.
Oh wow.
So that I guess that's where I made my comment, like that.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things, I guess, happen then.
Well, and maybe my comment was just sort of a perfunctory, kind of statement.
This says where some of the most brutal cases of child sex abuse occurred.
Oh God. Well, so this was what'd you say?
This is a lawyer that was looking into it, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So a lawyer. There was rape, obviously. This is a boys' school.
Yeah.
This is a quote. They were also dealt with by the sisters who were there in a sadistic way.
Oh.
Because again, it was a Catholic facility. There were a lot of there was a lot of sadism. They were beaten. I had one nun testify when I took her deposition that she could hear the screams when they were being beaten.
Oh God.
Anyway, and it dates back all the way to 1940s. So that's where.
So the other personal connection I have to this story and why it matters to me, you've probably forgotten all about this, but do you remember when we lived in Tennessee
I remember living in Tennessee. What about it?
Do you remember that 1 month where I actually worked at a place like this?
Yeah, facility. Yeah.
Yeah, and I only stayed for a month for the exact reasons that we're talking about. The place was called Reflections Treatment Agency. It's closed down now.
Hmm.
It was owned by a company called Youth Services International.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially, just like, so you know how like correctional facilities for adults throughout the country are essentially owned by private companies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's essentially what this other company, YSA, was, or YSI. And so they owned and operated these treatment facilities around the country for troubled youth. But they were essentially, children that were sent there by court order. So at this particular facility where I worked, it was a quote unquote treatment facility, not jail, for sexually delinquent boys aged from 10 years to 19 years. But again, because it's not jail, it's a treatment facility, just like with the Dozier School, you're not there for a specific sentence to serve out a specific sentence.
You're there for rehabilitation.
Yeah, you're there to go through the program. So some boys were there for as little as like 10 or 11 months. Some were there for years. And during the month that I worked there, I was appalled, really, at what I was seeing. And it wasn't even by any means the extreme nature of what happened at the Dozier School. Nobody was beaten. People were abused, physically abused, definitely, because I'll never forget this. This was kind of the nail in the coffin when I decided to leave. There was an evening I was on sort of like the second shift, so to speak. And I worked from like late afternoon after the boys had gotten finished with school. They had school on site. And so I was there with them when they ate, getting ready for bed, showers and all that sort of stuff. And then for the first couple of hours of their sleep time. And so I was working on the hallway. It's not a cell block. It was a hallway of for the younger boys from like 10 to 14 or 15. And this one boy that I had kind of gotten to know and everything, he had ADHD. It was very obvious. I'm a teacher. I know how to recognize it. That's what's going on with him. Well, it's like 8:30 at night, and this ADHD kid is not at all sleepy. And so, I said, okay, come on, just get up and do circles. I couldn't have him like walk a lap anywhere. So, and I can't remember what he was obsessed with some sort of a ninja game or movie or something. And so he called this his ninja training. And so he was doing these circles and stuff. And I was trying to get him to just work off some energy. Well, this other, again, we weren't guards, we were counselors.
With
so
no training.
Oh, we had training, a whopping 4 days of training.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's what I mean, though. Like,
yeah.
You're not officially
No, that's what I mean. Yeah. So one of the other counselors turns the corner and then immediately comes barreling down the hall towards this kid with me standing right there in front of him and grabs him by the shoulders and throws him up against the wall, pinning him to the wall, and is in his face like a drill sergeant asking, what the hell is he doing? And I was livid. I said he was doing exactly what I told him to do. I'm trying to work off some of his energy. And he then turned to me, and he was a pipsqueak of a little thing. I mean, he was just like clearly having a Napoleon syndrome. He turned to me and he was like, well, then it needs to be in his, I forget what they called it, his file or whatever, that he's supposed to do this. And I was like, he's too energized to sleep. What do you want me to put it? So anyway, I was just appalled at the way he treated this kid. And that was that was their default, was to grab them. And we had been trained on how to do safe restraint. And it was definitely not what this guy was doing. I'm happy to say I still can safely take a student down to the ground to this day, because every once in a while somebody doesn't believe me and they're like, come on, do it to me then. And so I do it. But anyway, that was not what this guy was doing. And he was, it's very obvious how being in that position of authority or quote unquote power gets to these people's heads that are serving as these quote unquote counselors. And what really killed me was that there were at least 2 boys that were there who, again, had, just sort of opened up to me. And once they told me why they were there essentially just for being gay. And that was sort of my straw that broke the camel's back, and why I said, okay, I'm done with this. And I wrote, do you remember the long resignation letter that I wrote?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I gave it to all of the heads of the facility, the director, the owner representative or whatever. And I specified what I had seen in the month that I was there, and that was why I could no longer remain in their employ. And so, yeah, that was, so when I heard all that to say, when I first heard about the Dozier School for Boys, I immediately thought of the boys that I met in the facility where I worked. And, thankfully, and I can't even say that with certainty. While I was there, nothing to the extreme of what happened at Dozier was happening there. But nevertheless, there were far too many types of abuse that were happening anyway. Okay, so back to Dozier. So so again, the anthropology department at FSU was really they became the advocates for these boys and the dead,
mm-hmm.
really. And so they, had to do what DNA testing they could, which, with just skeletal remains at that point, they had just basically mitochondrial DNA that they could work from. And of course, they were having to work backwards because they were boys. They didn't have any kids. So they had to, try to find maternal genetic links to contact families and relatives. And that was how Tenenarive Dew and her father found out that they were related to one of these dead boys.
Mm-hmm.
Because they got a call saying, hey, we found one of your relatives. And they were like, who? They didn't even have any idea. So the sad thing about it, out of the 55 bodies discovered, only 8 were positively ID'd. So, that's a pretty low percentage. I don't know what percentage that is, but, there was, it sort of, it furthered the cause, for the public to say, even after all this, we were only able to positively identify 8 of the 55 bodies discovered. And all the while, the authorities are basically still saying, there's nothing we can do. There's no evidence. There's nothing to go on. And so finally, in 2017, the Florida State Legislature issued an official apology to all of the relatives of the boys, as well as to the living men who had served time at the Dozier School. And just last year, they came up with a settlement amount to pay the families and the living boys, now men. So today, the site of the school has been converted into, I don't remember if it's the state or the county that owns it, but it's been converted into a lot of different things that, can be used by the county. There is a school there, but it's just a regular public school. Or actually, I think it's in several schools that are there now. But what they did, they took the White House, the building where all the beatings occurred, and they actually turned it into sort of a monument to everybody who suffered any abuse there. An artist did these bronze sculptures and things like that were put up there so that they kind of had, a memorial, basically. Mm-hmm. But like I said, last year they did finally come up with a settlement to pay the survivors
some sort of restitution.
Exactly. So at least there was some form of closure. Not that it does any good, really, but, or no, it does good. It doesn't fix anything that happened. That's what I mean.
Well, that's the whole point of restitution. It's never going to.
Yeah.
I don't know why you picked this one. It's like you're on a crusade.
Well, yeah, it's an important story.
To who?
The world. to the people who were there, who suffered.
Okay. I'm not discounting that, but it just...
So if you want to read more about the people who actually were at the Dozier School, or the White House Boys as they collectively call themselves, you can read their stories at www.theofficialwhitehouseboys.org. And it's, a really moving website, and they have different interviews that they've done there. And even links to where, if you were a former White House boy, where you can get in contact with them and tell them your story as well.
How many are still alive?
Well, I don't know. There's, a lot though, because, it just closed not that long ago, 15 years ago. So 14 years. So they range in age from, I guess, in their, what would that put them?
In their 70s,
30s, all the way up to their 80s.
Was it bad towards the end?
Yeah, that was one of the things that I saw when I was looking at different stuff last night. There were reports that were still coming in the 2000s that it was of different atrocities that were happening. And that's why it ultimately closed, was because of all these reports and things like that. And they finally failed an inspection, I guess, or whatever it's called, an evaluation.
A health inspection? Like they went to the cafeteria and they failed that?
No. They failed like an evaluation.
State inspection?
Yeah. So that was
the straw that finally broke it, was that? I can't understand how
it goes on for so long.
Yeah, especially in the age of, like a parent can't even beat their kid nowadays, like can't whip their kid without fear
spank.
of... Sure.
They
can't
for shame, they can't beat their kids.
They can't discipline their kids now for fear of it being considered abuse.
Physically spanking.
Yes. And you have and that was like in the 90s and 2000s, like that's when that whole mind shift switched between disciplining your child and, the parent being afraid that the kid's going to call CPS on them. But, that then you have this place right here that's still doing this. I don't understand how that continues on after the world we live in has opened its eyes to stuff like that.
Well, so in Nickel Boys, they kind of, and again, it's a novel. It's not, I haven't read enough of the historical stories to know, if this is what actually happened or not, but they sort of provide an answer for that in Nickel Boys. And that was that during these inspections, they would walk the inspectors around to the specific things that they wanted them to see. And they even talked about how, suddenly on the day that the inspection was happening, they had all this great food that they had never had before, because it was, inspection day. And so they were putting on airs.
Well, so to me though, like places like that, inspections like that, like the inspectors, how stupid can you be? Like, how stupid can you be? I'm sorry. Like you've got to know something else is going on there. Like, it's not difficult to figure that out.
Well, sometimes people are bribed, which is something that was alleged a lot with this situation. So, obviously I'm not excusing it, but there are a number of ways that
I know
stuff like this happens.
I know people see what they want to see.
Yeah.
It reminds me of like when a school board member comes into a school district and the dog and pony show happens, like, and I get that, but, and I think the same thing, like, how stupid are you as a school board member or as a person who looks at these things? How stupid can you be to think that everything is hunky-dory? Nothing in the world is hunky-dory. Nothing is exactly as it needs to be. There are problems everywhere. Even in the most perfect facility, there are problems.
Yeah.
And so it's like, when we get our evaluations, they're like, you're never going to receive the highest evaluation because there's always room for improvement. That's what they tell teachers.
Yeah.
And these places are the same thing. Like, how can you go in there and say, oh, everything's perfect? No, there has to be something. I hate people. I just do. I'm not a fan of people.
Well, it's the thing that really, two things that really get me about the whole situation. Number one, the fact that there's no sentence. You're there for as long as it takes, which means that, if you have a sadistic director or warden, whatever you want to call him in this facility that's not a jail, if you have a sadistic leader in charge and he, doesn't like this one kid or is frankly getting off on being mean to them, then he can keep you there as long as he wants.
All right. So 2 things. Number 1, that's how conversion therapy camps are, though. You're there until you're cured.
Yeah.
Okay. That's one thing. Number 2, a lot of this rings to, and I'm going to relate it to a comic book, Arkham Asylum, because they're there for rehabilitation. They're not there as a prison. Arkham Asylum is not a prison.
Yeah.
In Batman's world, it's a rehabilitation facility, and they're there until they're rehabilitated. And so that's kind of, you're not sentenced for a length of time. You're there until rehabilitation occurs, which is why they always fake rehabilitation in the comic books. They're like, oh, I'm cured, but you really, then they get out and they're like, oh, I just did that. But those camps, though,
you're talking about the conversion camps.
Yeah, no, yeah. Those boys are there because they're there, or girls too. They're there until they're cured, according to the person who's in charge.
Mm-hmm.
It's not according to any length of time, and so the same thing happens in those places. Well, there's tons of abuse that happens in those places.
Oh yeah, and there was so I also more recently had 2 students. This was at my previous school, not my current school, but I had 2 different students at 2 different times that were sent by their parents to these wilderness survivalist, but essentially what my dad was threatening me with.
They're trying to make you a man kind of thing.
Not even make you a man, but just like learn how to act right. What am I trying to say? What are they called?
Reform schools. Like that's
it's not a school. It's a
reform facility.
Yeah. So they were sent to these wilderness survivalist reform programs. It's not even a facility because they're literally out in the woods.
Is this like an anti-gay thing?
No.
Okay. I was gonna say because anti-gay stuff in the woods that's happening.
Oh yeah. But these were just, for students who habitually would not obey their parents or were, heading down the wrong track or something like that. And they're like, oh, well, I don't know what to do with them.
Well, I got a whole list of kids that can go on that trip. I mean,
Well, but I mean, and these were parents that felt like they were at their wits' end, that they've done everything that they know how to do. Let's, find some place that's going to make things better. And so they in one of the cases, it wasn't required that this was how it happened, but you could either be dropped off at the meeting point, I guess, or you were literally 2 men would come into your home and physically remove you and put you in the back of a van and take you away.
Okay.
And so one of my former students, that happened to him. And keep in mind, this is all totally fine and perfectly legal because the parents are paying for it.
And again, I'm just going to state, this is why I like dogs better than people. This is why right here, because it's kind of crap right here. So we just need to wrap this thing up because I'm starting to get a little.
Well, that's okay.
No, it's not. I don't need to go home on a night before school. This is supposed to be an uplifting and.
I'm sorry, I won't pick heavy topics.
It's not even heavy. I mean, you just.
What? I can't help it. That's what they did.
I'm gonna pick a comic book topic or something like that from here on out, and you're just gonna have to go along with it. You owe me one, man.
That's fine. Anyway, but yeah, all these programs and things like that, they eventually either get shut down or they, something happens but anyway, the wilderness, not the specific one that my students went to, I don't think, but others like them were shut down because, boys actually died under their care.
Shocker. Shocker.
Yeah. So
all these things, it's for the best for the kid.
I know.
Like these conversion camps. Like,
oh yeah, I don't. And we're talking whenever we say conversion camps, we're talking about gay conversion camps.
Yeah, you know the camps that these Christian people put these kids in to try to take the gay out of them because it's something they're choosing to be.
Pray the gay away. Yeah.
Need to pray.
Okay. Anyway.
You got me here.
No, I know.
You knew this would get me all worked up.
I was.
Now I'm going to have to talk to my therapist now. I have to call him up on a special time now.
He'll be booked.
He is booked because I won't talk to him for another 2 weeks because we're going to be out of town normally on my normal day. So I can't talk to him. And I'm going to tell him, I'm going to say, look, because we share therapists. I'm like, look,
it's my fault.
I know you know who this friend of mine is. And I'm going to need you to have a conversation with him when he talks to you this week too. And he's going to be like, indeed. Indeed, Michael, I will talk to Brandon for you. I'm like, you better.
I'm pretty sure he can't. Anyway, so I'm scared to ask, but so what are your final thoughts?
You don't want to know. I don't like people. I like dogs. Remember how you said last week that I'm the dog whisperer and I like dogs? I would much rather spend time with dogs because they don't do that stuff to people.
Yeah.
And it's always in the name of the greater good, and it never is.
Yeah.
It never is. And any of these facilities always have these people who are untrained and unlicensed to be there, and they act like you can just pull someone from the parking lot of the Walmart and offer them a job and give them 2 days of training or 3 days of training and call that sufficient. And then, no, that's not, especially in a facility like you were working at where it was, you know, a real rehabilitation place, but for kids who just needed help, you know, like it. My final thoughts are don't send your kids there. If you're a bad parent, then you shouldn't have had kids. And maybe you should research how to actually be a good parent.
Well, yeah.
It's not a difficult thing. And you should not, if your kids are to the point where you don't know what to do and you got to wash your hands of them, then you know what? You should not have been a parent, because that's the same thing that people do when they say, oh, I can't handle a dog, and just drop the dog off on the down end of the street and leave the dog, you know, by himself, dropping them off. You don't do that to kids. You figure it out. That's my Michael's topic, Michael's final thoughts.
I mean, I agree with everything you said. I mean, especially frankly, I had no business working in that facility myself, but I'll tell you this, I had far more education than the people that I was working alongside.
Well, yeah. I mean, you were educated. You had a master's degree at that point.
No, I didn't. I just had a bachelor's.
But still, like I said, they pulled people from the Walmart parking lot.
Yeah. These were
anybody, Joe Blow, come off the street with an application and like, oh, you're hired.
These were, yeah. I mean, we were, all of us, we were making $10.50 an hour. So, you know, this was not, you know, your
professional level job.
Yeah, like there. I don't remember what the minimum qualifications were, but they
Can you fill the application out?
I mean, yeah, they weren't a college degree. One of the guys told me that I was a little overqualified for the position, but I was the only one that had any. I would start to say that had any sense, but kind of.
And you know, we want to know why youth today, like all this is going down, because like. Okay, so we don't put money into schools, or we don't put money, you know, we have a teacher shortage. So instead of raising the bar for teachers, we've lowered the qualifications for teachers to the point where anyone can be in there.
Yeah.
And we want to know why we're horrible in the rankings of education.
Yeah.
And dealing with kids. You want to know why we have issues with kid mental stuff. And, you know, this is why.
Yeah.
Because we don't take it seriously.
Yeah. We have our priorities all out of whack.
But we're going to pay a multi-million-dollar contract to a person who plays football.
Well, and not even that. We're going to spend millions of dollars on this program in school. You know, we're going to spend tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars on Kagan or whatever.
I'm just saying, if we want our kids to be right, then we need to be right by them. We need to do right by them and make smart decisions and not lower. I mean, if we have a doctor shortage, do you think they're going to go in there and say, hey, look, we need doctors. No one's going into the field anymore. We're going to go ahead and lower the qualifications to be a doctor.
Yeah.
They would never do that. Lawyers never do that.
Yeah.
But hey, look, you know what? Teaching, you want to know why they did that? Because teaching's a female profession.
It's seen that way.
That's exactly why they did that. So instead of raising to get kids or people to go into the field and doing what is proven to support teacher education programs, they just lowered the qualifications. That's a whole nother topic. I need to get out of here. Roz, I'm done for the episode. Done. What's your final thought?
Well, no, I was following up on yours, remember? And I was saying, I had no business being there, but the other people were even less qualified than I was. I mean, at least I had an education degree. I recognized what ADHD is in a kid, but places like the Dozier School, I think the biggest takeaway that we can have from this is that, we think of places like the Dozier School being in the past, just like we think of insane asylums as a thing in the past, that today we have, psychiatric hospitals that are far more humane.
Mm-hmm.
We don't send off our relatives with mental deficiencies to live in an institution. We keep them at home now, and we treat them as we can. The same is not true for reformatories. These things are still, we can look at it as, something in the early 20th century and something of bygone days or something like that, but it's not. It's still something that occurs and that still goes on today. And it's something that really, I think, like you were saying, that parents need to be especially aware. I would never, ever send my child to some sort of a treatment program or anything like that, where they're going to be away from me. I don't trust people enough, and I don't even have kids.
That's just a cop out, like, oh, I'm going to let someone else raise my kid. That's a cop out. Be a better person.
I mean,
you are just
I agree, because I don't think either of those sets of parents are ever even know that this podcast exists, let alone listen to this episode. But yeah, it was both cases where they had the financial means to literally pass the buck on to somebody else.
Yeah.
And so they did.
Yeah. Horrible
because
people.
They didn't know what to do.
Yep. Horrible people. And on that note, let's go to trivia. Yay.
Please, something with levity and fun.
So let's do physics. James Watt determined an average one of these could pull 33,000 foot-pounds of coal.
Foot-pounds?
Mm-hmm.
What is a foot-pound? What is a kilowatt?
Nope. What is a horse? Horsepower.
Oh, for horsepower. Okay. Yeah.
One of the simple machines of physics, one type is added to buildings for handicap access.
Oh, was a ramp?
Nope. What is the actual name of the simple machine? A ramp is an example of this, but what is the actual name of the simple machine?
Oh, what is it? It's not called an incline.
It is.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
Oh.
Incline plane.
Incline plane. Yeah, that's okay.
An example of this conservation of momentum in action is this kick felt by a person who fires a gun.
What is kick back?
Nope.
What?
An example of this conservation of momentum in action is this kick felt when a person who fires a gun. What's it called?
The law?
No. What's the name of the action that is when you fire a gun and it shoots back at you? Like it doesn't shoot back.
Oh, recoil.
Yeah.
Oh.
The change in pitch of a train whistle is an example of this effect.
The Doppler effect.
Okay. And in 1942, this Italian-born physicist produced the first controlled self-sustaining fission reaction.
Was that Fermi?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Enrico Fermi.
Yeah. Italian. There are only so many.
That was the 5.
I know, but you're still looking through the book.
Well, I'm looking at scientific discoveries. I'm just looking at the questions.
Oh. How many did I get? 2?
Mm-hmm. No, you got 4. 3. You got recoil. You didn't get horse. You got Doppler, Fermi, and recoil.
Yeah.
And incline, but you didn't say plane.
Okay. So I got 3?
Yeah. All right. Pick one. I don't care.
A World of Art.
Okay.
Artist John Olson painted a mural for this city's opera house in the early 70s.
Sydney?
Yes. Sir Thomas Brock was knighted after unveiling his statue of Queen Victoria in front of this palace.
Kensington?
Where does the Queen live?
Buckingham.
Yes. In 1916, he sold his first of more than 300 Saturday Evening Post covers.
Norman Rockwell.
Yes. This Florentine artist, Bronzino, served as court painter to Cosimo I of this famous family.
Verk de Ferk?
That's Swedish, not
What? I don't know. What? Who?
The Medici.
I don't even know who that is, how to spell it, and even pronounce it.
Okay. Basquiat got attention for this type of wall writing in Hollywood Africans.
Graffiti?
Yes. You got 4 out of 5 there.
That was good. That was a guess too, let me tell you.
Yeah, it still counts though. Guesses still count.
All right, that about wraps it up for this week's morbid episode From Art to Atoms.
The Ultimate Curiosity Show. Be sure to tune in next week for our season finale, the big 3-0, end of season 1.
The big 3-0? Like, did we just turn 30?
Episode 30, yeah.
Okay, explain that. All right, see you guys later.
Have a great week, everybody. Bye.
You've been listening to From Art to Atoms, the Ultimate Curiosity Show, episode number 29. Your hosts are Brandon Shoemaker and myself, Michael Folse. The show is produced by Brandon Shoemaker and is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcast. Be sure to subscribe to this show to stay up to date on all of our latest episodes and news. If you have any questions, feedback, or suggested topics you'd like for us to dive into, don't hesitate to reach out. You can email us at FromArtToAtoms@gmail.com. We would love to hear from our listeners, and we value your input. Don't forget to follow us on social media to stay updated on upcoming episodes and behind-the-scenes content. You can always find us on Instagram and YouTube at From Art to Atoms. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to rate and review us on your favorite podcast platform. Your support helps us reach even more interested minds like yours. Thanks for tuning in, and as always, stay curious.